What's up, bro?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to James Bond Bitcoin Live special episode 007. And it's so special. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a treasure hunt giveaway live on the show. So and it's so special. Each person, a guest here, is gonna give me a word during the live stream. So if you're around for the live stream, you'll be able to get the passcode to the code to the private key at the end of the show, and there'll be one part of the code that I'll leave blank for everyone to figure out what the passcode is. So it's still a treasure hunt, people, but you have to watch the show, and it's going to be random. It's going to be whatever Brian or Luke comes up with, and I'll come up with the word, and then I'll leave the last clue, unknown, for you to have fun with. All right. So let me first introduce Brian McLaughlin. He's a very good viewer. He's one of the first persons to actually crack the code. He's a treasure hunt. He's the person that's been taking all the bitcoins from my treasure hunt. Please introduce yourself, Brian.
Howdy, everybody. Brian McLaughlin, new to the crypto space. I've only been here about 4 months. I made a couple YouTube videos, and like James says, I'm active on other YouTube videos more than I am my own channel.
Excellent. And then everyone probably knows Luke, or Yes for Motivation. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Luke.
Hi guys, my name is Luke, Yes for Motivation. I talk about Bitcoin and all different types of altcoins. I do motivational videos. I talk about how to avoid scams and all sorts of good stuff like that.
All right, excellent. And of course, I'm James Bond. I have my own channel. You're here. Let's see who's in the live chat. Yellow Fever for you is in the live chat. Thanks for watching. Olaf Hosky is in the live chat, and Martin Wilkinson's in the live chat. Thanks for coming on here. So speaking of scams, I know we talked about this before. Most of us who are get into Bitcoin get scammed at some point in time. I'll tell you my story first of how I got scammed when I got into Bitcoin, because I was such a noob. I didn't even know what money really is and what it's not. So after my first scam was actually Mt. Gox, so I got Goxed. But after that, when I started doing peer-to-peer trading, I traded on local Bitcoins. My first scam was in a wire fraud. It was a wire reversal. Someone came to me on a trade on local Bitcoins, wanted to do a wire transaction for $500. Next day, it was gone. So that was for 500. And then I stopped doing wire transactions. After that, someone contacted me and wanted me to do a Venmo, which is like a PayPal kind of thing, where you pay someone over your phone or something like that. And that was back when Bitcoin was about $1,000, and he did a trade for 2 Bitcoins with me, and I lost $2,000. So basically, I saw the transaction on my phone. I said, "Wow, okay, I made some money. I made a trade. I released the Bitcoin." The next day, it was gone, and so that's how I got scammed. So please, who wants to go first to tell them how you got scammed? Brian, do you want to go first? Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, sorry guys, I was just chatting, sorry.
right on, Luke. When I first got started, I ended up putting some money in these crypto Ponzi schemes like Matizer and MindGate and Brain Impulse. These are the high yield investment programs where they have you send a Bitcoin and promise you that they'll pay you out every day. It's cloud mining. That's what it is, cloud mining. So I put my money in there, and like 7 days later, Matizer crashed. Anything back from it, and I was really pissed off. And I'd already invested in some other ones, but that's what led me to start doing the YouTube videos and analyzing the numbers behind the crypto Ponzi's so that we can take advantage of them, if you will.
Oh, there's a lot of popular cloud mining services. One of them being Genesis Cloud Mining. Now, what do you think about that? Did you do any research? You must have, because there's so many people doing it on YouTube and pushing it. You know, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've always considered myself somewhat intelligent, but when I stepped into the crypto space, I didn't use any of that intelligence. I just watched some YouTube videos. I didn't perform my due diligence properly, and I listened to a few people to whom I should not have listened. And I bought 5 terahash of 256 of SHA-256 on Genesis. So I get daily payouts from them. My take on it. It would have been better for me at the time to take that money and purchase Bitcoin. What really bugs me is that these payments I get into my wallet every day, if I want to spend them, like if I wanted to transfer my whole balance from my wallet somewhere else, there's so many freaking inputs that the transaction fees take up like 30% of the money or the Bitcoin I'm trying to send. So that's ridiculous. Everyone who gets these daily payouts are going to have all these multiple inputs, so they're going to have to end up paying more in fees to send out and use these Bitcoins that they've cloud mined.
Yeah, yes. How long ago was that? Was it like was it 4 months ago when you first started?
Yeah, it was, well, April, May, June. It's been about 2.5, 3 months.
Okay, but even then, if you just bought Bitcoins at that time,
Yes.
you would have doubled your money instead of getting these small little payouts.
Yeah, I could have purchased at 919. So 5 terahash of 256 is $700. So I could have bought in 7/9 of a Bitcoin roughly, and would have been in great shape right now.
Yeah, yeah, you would have been in great shape. I can see why you're into my treasure hunt. You're trying to get some of those Bitcoins. Right?
Trying to recoup my losses.
Who doesn't want free Bitcoin?
Right?
Now, Luke, please tell us about how you got scammed. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone who eventually gets into Bitcoin gets scammed eventually.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying just a minute ago, like Traffic Monsoon was when I realized how these scams kind of operate. How like the whole revenue share, they kind of create this fake business model where they use new money to pay off old money, and it's just not sustainable. For every purchase, they were going like 110% in debt because they had to pay back that money and trickle it out with daily payments. And when I realized how they work, it's a whole mind game. It's a whole like psychological mind game with how they do things, because they try and make it like a cult. They punish people, they ban people, they block people for asking the questions, and you know, and they're everywhere. And then they vanish. I mean, so once I realized that, you know, I can spot these scams a mile off. And you know, I remember like networking with people and speaking to people, and they were like, how their family savings were gone because of these scams, and how their money was gone. And it's like they couldn't eat, they couldn't pay their rent because of these scams. And then their upline was basically like, it's nothing to do with me. They just vanished. So people, that's why I always go on about the scams so much, because it's not nice to lose your money, right? Especially if you work hard for it. And like you know, like Brian said, if you just put it into something a bit more stable, a bit more secure, and a bit more like logical, something like Bitcoin, or I don't know, precious metals, or into a business, like your own legit business, right? Make a freaking ebook. Then, you know, at least then you're investing in something that's actually genuine and has an actual value to it, rather than some piece of trash rev share Ponzi with a business model that just defies the whole laws of mathematics. You know, so yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. You know, people got to be careful. So I don't mind exposing a few scams here and there. I really don't.
Actually, Luke, they don't defy the laws of mathematics. In fact, they adhere to them so much you can predict when a Ponzi scheme is going to end.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of I think scams going on and being perpetuated on YouTube. One of the chat audience here has asked, "Is Steam a scam?" Lots of laugh. You know, I'm kind of not a big fan of Steam, just because I do think it's a form of some kind of scam. I'm not on it, but I've asked people who have been on it. I mean, Luke, are you on Steam by any chance?
Yeah, I don't use Steam much. It's only because can you guys wait 1 sec? Can you guys see me on the camera? Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks a bit dark. I
yeah,
don't
it
know.
is dark.
Yeah, okay. So it's darker. Yeah, I use Steam. I don't use it much, but I've started using it a bit more. And I kind of sometimes put the videos on there. If I do a video, I'll kind of put it on Steam it or something, like an article that I write, I'll put it on Steam it. And it seems like, I think the social media platform of it, the idea of it is really good. Like, so you get tips for creating content. That's a digital marketer's dream, right? And I know a lot of people have made a lot of money from it. I've seen people making quite a nice chunk of cash. Um, I don't know. I haven't really researched Steam that much. I'm totally honest. So I
Would
don't
you
know
recommend people to buy Steam tokens?
what to buy Steam on an exchange. Hell no, nah. Just no. Just literally put it on. Literally make content. Like write some stuff and put it on the Steam It site, and then just earn free Steam It. I would never.
Right.
I say to people, like, don't buy Steam It, earn it. Like do some content that then something that someone can read and learn from, and earn some free Steam It. Yeah. There's no point in buying it unless you're gonna like flip it on a pump and then dump it again. As a lot of traders probably do. But in terms of buying Steam on a long-term investment, me personally, no. I'd rather just post one of my articles or videos, or do something like create some content, put it on there, and earn some free Steam It doing it that way, rather than I wouldn't buy it. No, hell no, no.
Right, right. That's the thing about the Steam platform. I mean, I don't mind people going on there and trying to do, earn Steam, but from what I've heard, it's kind of hard to do so. And you kind of it almost seems like, from my view, because I'm not on it, but
Yeah,
I do think that it's a kind of like a ruse, because I see a lot of people on YouTube talk
yeah,
about great things, like they're making money, they're living their dreams, right?
yeah.
And they get all emotional involved in it, like it's the greatest thing since Facebook and sliced bread.
Sliced bread.
And yet, when I talk to other people who have gone on the site and they post it, they make very little, and on top of that, it seems like it's geared towards where the site is trying to sell you Steam so you can power up and probably maybe get up more noticed. It's almost like they're trying to sell you Steam so you can get more noticed. But the problem is, it's a user-based platform where the money is generated from the user. It's not like YouTube where the income or the money is generated from advertisers who pay to advertise on your content, and that's where the money's coming from. And that's a business model that I understand, and newspapers understand, magazines. I mean, it's very common. But Steemit is a user-generated platform where the money comes from the user. So somebody has to buy these Steam tokens in order for you to get paid out, and that's the scammy part that I feel about it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I don't know much about Steam. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if people how it's mined, or if it's like proof of work, proof of stake, or if I don't know nothing about it. I just know about the social media platform, which is a good idea. I think paying people for content creation is a good thing. But I mean, we don't know. I mean, I don't know what goes on with it, but I certainly wouldn't recommend buying it. I would just earn that damn token. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I usually wait like at least 5 years before I would sign up to a content social media website, because I don't even know if this is going to last 5 years. So it's literally only 2 years old, actually maybe even 1 year.
Yeah,
It's
I
actually
remember
just
last
one
year.
and a half years old.
I remember last year.
So it's not a very
when
old site.
Yeah, it's still fledgling tech. I hope it's genuine, and I do hope it's all of the blockchain stuff works out and is genuine. I hope it all works out, because not just because it helps Bitcoin, but if we look at the bigger picture, if all these innovative platforms like game credits, game store, if all these things, Steam it, and all these different things, if they all work out to be legit and genuine and generally do all innovate the industry and innovate our day-to-day lives, that's a great thing. But again, let history be the judge.
Right. Now, what I wanted to bring up was like the recent price crash on Bitcoin. a lot of people seem to be scared the flippening. I mean, I think Luke, you did a video on that with the flippening that might happen with Ethereum and Bitcoin. How real is that? And should people who hold Bitcoin be afraid, or should Ethereum people be happy?
I mean, Bitcoin people shouldn't be afraid. No, like I said, Bitcoin maximalist. No, shouldn't be worried about Ethereum at all. I don't see Bitcoin and Ethereum as rivals. That's just the news. That's just the media hyping it up. Let them hype it up, right? But Ethereum is an application builder. It's a hub of innovation. It's not really a currency. Like Bitcoin is a currency. It operates in numbers. Ethereum, it can do more than that, right? I mean, it can build applications within applications. I think its potential, it's got a heap of potential. I'm not an Ethereum hater at all, but I think should Ethereum people be happy? Yeah, I mean, if they bought Ethereum when it was $10, then yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're popping open a bottle of champagne as we speak. Good for them, I say. It's nice to see people make money and stuff and change their life, but I don't think people with Bitcoin should be worried at all. The dynamics, like I said, if something proves to be legit and it succeeds, it helps Bitcoin anyway, because then the two ecosystems can merge and work together and support each other. Hopefully, I mean, is Ethereum's price stable at the moment? That's questionable. But I mean, I think Ethereum could go much, much higher. But it'll be very interesting to see how it goes. I mean, Ethereum could reach Bitcoin's market cap if it gets pumped enough. Of course it could, because you've got the banks behind it. So again, it's kind of when that could happen. It could happen tomorrow night. It could happen next week. It could happen in a year's time. It's this whole industry is experimental. It's like uncharted grounds at the moment. So we just don't know what's going to happen around the corner. So yeah, that's what I would say. So yeah, Ethereum people should be happy. Bitcoin people shouldn't be worried. And if you've got both and you've made profit, thumbs up from me.
How about you, Brian? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, Ethereum people should be happy, especially those that got in early. Every coin has speculative opportunity, right? Whether it becomes used or not, you have a chance to make money in the beginning. What really bothers me, this whole flippening thing with people like, oh no, the market cap of Ethereum is going to become greater than that of Bitcoin. Well, yeah, there's like 6.5 times as many Ethereum as there are Bitcoin. So it shouldn't take much. I think it only needs to get to $500 and it beats the Bitcoin market cap. But that doesn't matter, especially when they're pumping out, I don't even know how many more Ethereum they pump out every year. It's ridiculous. So yes, there is a difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum as far as their functionality, what they're made to do. Bitcoin is made to be a currency. Ethereum was made to be a platform upon which people could utilize new blockchain dApps, right? But then you get into a whole nother issue with Ethereum. They've got all these dApps running on it. So they're going to have a lot more traffic, and the blockchain size is going to get too huge. And well, I guess if you just boil it down and take it all to its logical extent, as I'd mentioned earlier when we were talking, like if the blockchain gets to a certain point, there will be no common citizens who can actually house it. They won't have enough storage space. So it'll go back to the Ethereum enterprise. They'll be the only ones that can hold an entire copy of the blockchain. And when that happens, it's more centralized than ever, and they can do with it whatever they want. Like if the Chinese took over more than 50% of the mining pool in Bitcoin.
All right, good point, Brian. All right, so this is where I'm going to ask you, Brian, for the passcode. So if you don't know what's going on, this live stream will also have a treasure hunt in it. And if you stay here long enough and you're able to figure out the passcodes, the last passcode will be not given, so you're going to have to figure that out. So Brian, what is the first passcode for the treasure hunt?
You just want me to say it?
Yeah, just say it.
1.44.
1.44? Okay. 1.44. All right, that is the first clue for the treasure hunt, everybody. Excellent. So yeah, that's a good point, Brian. It always seemed like Ethereum always seemed to be centralized for some reason. Ever since it started, I mean, there's always been this feeling that that one person controls it, specifically Vitalik, and he's also been known to roll back a transaction ever since the DAO was created, which was their first smart contract. So um, I'm not sure if this is going to get worse as times go on, because it seems like a lot of the banks have jumped onto it, and they're doing the same thing which led to the housing crisis, the financial crisis, the dot-com crisis, and just over again. It seems like 1920 is the Great Depression crisis again. They're just pumping out all this stuff, creating money out of thin air, and someone's going to make off with all this money, and a lot of people are going to be holding bags. So anyways, so Luke, what do you think about that? About the Ethereum Alliance being centralized like that? Is that good or bad? Because some people love it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your own personal preference. I'm more decentralized. I prefer more decentralized. Have my own, be my own bank, be my own boss. People like the security of. They like the fact that big, massive corporations like Microsoft, Cisco, JP Morgan are behind Ethereum. It gives them assurance. And I can understand that as well. I can see it from both sides of the coin. No pun intended. But it's like, it depends. When it's decentralized, at least you know that it's yours. At least you know you're not being controlled. You're not being manipulated. There's no central nexus hub that's controlling your details or controlling the value of your money. Bitcoin is the only true decentralized currency. Many are saying that it's the only free market as well, which I agree. Ethereum is quite centralized. I mean, I can see why Satoshi stepped back from Bitcoin, not just because of his or her safety or their safety, but also to make it truly decentralized. If you've got like a spokesperson, a president of Bitcoin or something like that, or a Bitcoin father, then it adds a bit of centralization to it. That person can then manipulate that particular asset. With Ethereum's kind of like the opposite. Like it is, you've got Vitalik, who's kind of like he's the face of Ethereum. You've got obviously Ethereum's, we know who their development team is. We know who's backing Ethereum, the alliance. So again, it's all down to preference of what the individual investor or user wants from their investment or from their actual platform that they're using. There's nothing wrong with diversifying in both, though. I mean, there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, you're not going to go to hell for that. But ultimately,
now, do you own any Ethereum by any chance?
No, I mean, I don't really like to say about my kind of financial stuff, but I've rid of it, and I've had a look.
Ethereum as a long-term hold, or have you considered any ICOs? I know you're more open to doing those things because you talk about Ripple in your videos and other coins. So I know you're not exclusive to that. I just want to know your thoughts and perspective on it. Is it worth trading? I mean, people trade it to make money. I mean, even Ozzy, who's on vacation right now, he trades it just to make money. He after he found out about the DAO, he says, "Fuck that shit." I'm not holding this forever.
No, he just sold. He sold his ETH the other day.
Oh, he did. Yeah. Okay, smart guy. Mm-hmm. He probably made a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's up to people what they do with it. I'm not going to tell people what they should do or what I would prefer them to do, but. I mean, I think Ethereum's here to stay. Yeah, it definitely is here for the long run. Where it will be in 10 years' time, 1 year's time, 5 years' time is who knows? But it could be here, and because it has the backing to stay. It needs to because they're going to fork it to proof of stake as well. I mean, we all know that, and So who knows what they have planned for it? Let the alliance decide. But in terms of, I think it will outlive a lot of the shit coins that are running around at the moment. Definitely, these shit coins that have no value to it. Yeah, they're gonna, Ethereum, because it's got the money to do it. Money talks, doesn't it? Money is what makes the world go around. So yeah, the alliance will keep it alive, definitely. And Ethereum's got a lot of potential, so we'll see what happens. But
yeah, there seems to be a lot of people that are just getting into it because they see the rising price and that's their justification. I mean, it's very familiar story, like the rising price of housing stocks, the rising price of .com stocks. They just want to put some money, get some of the price action. But ultimately, there's a lot of people who don't understand the technology, like the proof of stake that's going to happen, or supposedly is going to happen, the sharding, the higher fees that are going on. They just don't know anything about that. They just see it as some kind of securities, which kind of is going to bring me back to Brian here, and I know we talked about it. You think you think there might this whole thing with the ICOs and everything is done on purpose to get the SEC into the cryptocurrency space. Tell us more about your theory on that.
Well, now mind you, that was a theory that came upon me while I was cooking in our pre-show talk. So
yeah,
I haven't
isn't that
fleshed
great,
it out
man?
fully.
The epiphany you get when you're cooking,
Yes. So I'm thinking about this, right? Governments obviously are afraid of Bitcoin. They're afraid of having the power put back into the hands of the people to where they have no say in the dealings. And obviously, any powers that be control their peoples through their currency. So obviously, they don't like Bitcoin. You can see that very well in New York State with our officials here and how they've treated Bitcoin so far. Now, they can't go after Bitcoin because inherently it doesn't have flaws. It does, right? Scaling this and that. But inherently, it's pretty awesome. And they couldn't find a way in. But with Ethereum and the ICOs, there are going to be people that lose money. And when one of these people are rich enough or connected enough to someone in the government, then the SEC is going to step in. Now, the theory behind it, the conspiratorial theory, is that since they couldn't get in to Bitcoin, they have to go a different route. So they come in and they start regulating Ethereum. And people accept it because they got scammed, they got duped. All these ICOs are unregulated and all this money's flowing this way and that. So they're going to come in, they're going to protect people. They're going to protect us from these evil ICOs and these evil Ethereum scams. And then from there, once they have the foot in the door, then they can go after Bitcoin.
That's very interesting theory, because I know a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space, Tone Vase, Chris DeRose, and other people who are talking about how should we ask the SEC to come in and regulate. But your theory is very interesting. You're thinking that it's happening so the SEC can come in and regulate, and
Well,
I think there's something there to it.
They may not have caused it, but they'll certainly take advantage of it.
Right, and that's how usually things happen. Is the problem is caused, right, and then here comes the solution, and it's usually we're here to protect the stupid people from themselves, so we got to come in and tell them what to do, and that's very common. Yes. So, hey Luke, are you still there? It's getting dark. Is there a way you could turn on the light?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think this camera's
I know
a pile of
it's 8
crap.
o'clock. Luke is in the UK, so thanks for staying up late and joining us.
No problem. I'll sort it out in a minute.
Brian, New York. So,
But yeah, I'll turn the light on anyway.
That's very interesting. All right. I'm sure people want to see you, man.
Yeah, man. 1 second.
All right, so we're coming off on the half-hour mark here, and Luke, please give us. All right, that's a lot better.
Can you see
That's
me
a nice
now?
place
Yeah.
you got there.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Luke, give us the passcode for those of you who are just joining us, and let's see who's joined us. Mr. A1, Mr. Coin Market Cap A1 Baller. Let me see. Tomcat has joined us. William Bentley Blackburn has joined us, and 21 million. Thank you for joining us.
Satoshi Dan.
Satoshi Dan, yes. So, Luke, please give us the passcode, the second passcode for this treasure hunt for this live stream.
So I just say, do I just say a number? Is that how it works?
Anything you want. Anything random. Anything random.
Okay. 824.
Another number, 824. Okay. So I hope everyone's keeping track of this. All right. So there we go. All right. So I know we had a chance to talk about England for a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit off topic here because it may be related to Bitcoin. I've heard ever since I've been involved in Bitcoin, there's been a number of studies and reports about how Bitcoin could be used to fund terrorism. And I know recently in the past week or in the past month, there's been 4 attacks in England. What do you think? Do you really think? Do you really believe Bitcoin is being used to fund any sort of terrorism?
Well, it could be. It could be used for that because it is decentralized. It has got that anonymous edge to it.
Well, like what I'm trying to get at is do people in England? I know you probably interact with a lot of Bitcoin traders, obviously, or you know of Bitcoin traders and activity there. Do people really believe that in the Bitcoin community that you're in England over there?
No one has actually mentioned that point to me in terms of Bitcoin and terrorism. I'm sure someone's mentioned it somewhere, but no one's actually said that. I've not heard anyone actually say that myself. So no, I don't know. I don't think it's really Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin has more kind of got a horrible stigma because of these online scams. More so, that's what's damaged Bitcoin's reputation more than the terrorism. I'm totally honest.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ever since I've been involved, there's always been the news articles that come out that claim Bitcoin is used to fund terrorism or stuff. I just don't see it. I don't see how they can use it in the way that people use it now. Yes, it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, but I just don't see how it correlates with terrorist funding, out in the middle of nowhere, versus being used in the city, being traded peer-to-peer. I just don't see that correlation at all.
Yeah.
So, how about you, Brian? I mean, you've been in this space for 4 months. You think there's any correlation to that? Especially you being in New York. I mean, are people really taking that serious? There's always been that stigma.
Terrorism? No, actually, the only time I've heard people... Wait a second. Is my mic? My mic's on.
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
Good. I keep muting it because I'm outside and it's noisy in the Bronx. The only time I've heard Bitcoin and terrorism mentioned in the same sentence is when legislators or bureaucrats who are in control of, I don't know, BitLicense here in New York, try to come up with reasons why they need to regulate things. I don't see them talking about how the US dollar is used for terrorism or how people use gold for terrorism or poppies for terrorism. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point because it's always been a stigma, but I don't believe for 1 minute that terrorists don't even know what a Bitcoin is, and if they did, they would probably buy Ethereum because they'll make more money with Ethereum. So
why wouldn't they use Monero? Isn't that supposed to be the dark market choice right now?
Yeah, that would be the thing too, Monero. But Monero is kind of hard to use, from what I understand. So maybe that's why they're not that tech savvy over there.
They should use Dogecoin.
Dogecoin. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Dogecoin,
the ultimate terrorist vehicle.
All right. So let me talk about like the whole BIP 148, Brian. Since I mean, do you know anything about it? You know this the whole potential hard forking and or
Yeah.
maybe soft forking. What are your feelings on that? Because you're new. How do you feel about this?
Well, when I first got in, I guess the conversation about the hard fork had been going on for a while, and I guess there had been threats made by people who think they control Bitcoin, saying that they were going to hard fork it and we're going to have to deal with it, and it never happened. So I guess they don't control Bitcoin, and it was an idle threat. As far as the scaling issue, well, first of all, I think it's a false narrative as far as inherency. We don't have an inherent problem. We have one that we'll have to face at some point, but when you see empty or barely full blocks going onto the chain and all these transactions sitting out in the mempool, well, I believe that there's a false issue being created. There's no significant inherent issue, but it's being forced, which makes me wonder. I've been thinking about why. I mean, aside from the fact that they have ASIC boost and that's why this is happening, what benefit is there to mining empty blocks aside from knowing the knots and being able to get onto the next block quicker? And I would have to say that they're creating an issue. It's weird. China's creating this issue that we're going to solve that's going to cut them out and make them have an alternate Bitcoin. And this actually seems like it's in their worst interest to cause problems that would lead us to a scaling debate. So I think the Chinese are screwing themselves. And when we do the soft fork, the UASF, and they're left out in the cold, it's going to be their own damn fault.
Yeah, you know, they earlier in the year they made a threat. You know, Jihan Wu and Roger Ver kind of came out and were making threats that they would hard fork, and then nothing ever happened. The price dropped around 900, and everyone bought Bitcoins like crazy, and the price has gone up since then. And only recently with the user activated soft fork. Now I've just heard like there's been another announcement made that they would do a preemptive strike and do a miner activated hard fork. So to do a preemptive strike on the user activated soft fork. So it's really a big game of chicken, it seems like. But I wonder how much of it is real and how much of it is just smoke and mirrors, because I've thought about this. The user activated soft fork needs the hashing power. Now we have maybe some miners that may come on, but it'll take a while before we find the block reward and to do transactions. So we'll be in a standstill for a while. And the Chinese miners specifically have already made threats that they would hard fork. And you know, because they own about, I would say, a good 70% of the hashing power over there, which it seems it's just very centralized. So it's kind of scary to think that a game is being played out with 40 to 50 billion dollars of people's money on the line. So who knows what's going to happen. It's really scary to think that a group of people could potentially crash the price. A small group of people can potentially crash the price of all the users out there. What do you think about this whole mess of the splitting or hard forking, Luke? I mean, what's the sentiment like in the UK? Please tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as in America, really, as the rest of the world, really. A lot of people don't even know this is happening. Like, a lot of people own Bitcoin. They haven't got a clue what's going on. They just keep their coins on Coinbase, and they're just like, oh, what's going on? What's a hard fork? You know, the word hard fork is just a name. It's a very scary sounding name. I mean, if we just call it a software update or something, like when Windows updates the operating system for us, just call it an update, no one's gonna care. But because it's got a scary name, people can use that to create fear and manipulate the price. Like, as you just said, you know, when it crashed down to $900 a couple of months ago. Hopefully it goes smoothly. I think what we're seeing is kind of like with user activated soft fork, it's kind of like the final conclusion of people just getting fed up with the miners slowly centralizing the Bitcoin network. So it's kind of like, this is kind of like a kick up the ass kind of thing. Hopefully it doesn't fork it into two, because that's just going to be like that's just going to kind of cause so much confusion, so much mayhem. Then you're going to have two versions of Bitcoin fighting for control, and the whole 21 million selling point that Bitcoin has is going to kind of be a bit, that's going to kind of be compromised. So I don't know. Hopefully it just goes smoothly. I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen. That's the thing. It's uncharted grounds, right? There's a lot of money at stake. Hopefully people just kind of stop this kind of political, emotional, ego chest thumping, this kind of pissing contest, and just everyone just get along and see the bigger picture, really. Because you know, once it's done, the technology, the space, the industry can move on to more important things. You know, well, not more important things, but more other things. You know, other things that can be worked on, and that will benefit the people because it's decentralized. So
now, do you think this pissing contest that we're having, quote unquote, do you think that's causing a lot of people to look at other altcoins? Because a lot of altcoins have been rising in their prices, and it seems like a lot of use case because of the higher transaction fees we've been having, like
yeah,
Litecoin. People are using Ethereum.
yeah.
They're just going all over the place. And do you think this is just a natural order? Because it seems like we started decentralized with Bitcoin, right? And then we worked our way up, and then all of a sudden it becomes centralized in some way again. I mean, because I've heard, like, if all the money was taken from everyone and redistributed evenly by maybe 5 years, it would just go back to the same people. And,
Yeah,
you know, I
yeah.
hear that a lot. And is it because we're, you know, that's just the way the natural world works? It just, you know, manifests itself back into this kind of like pyramid.
Oh, you know, people are probably looking at altcoins as a hedge against this uncertainty. That's what's kind of happening. And all right, it's like fair enough. You know, they want to protect their wealth, right? So who can blame them? So yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people have gone into like other altcoins. Of course, a lot of the altcoins, well, nearly all of them are faster, like, and cheaper for transactions. So that's another reason why it is faster and cheaper to use Litecoin than it is to use Bitcoin. It's much faster. So you know, if you're doing, you know, when you're working and you're being paid in cryptocurrency, and you want to be paid, you may want to just use Litecoin because it's just faster and cheaper and just more efficient. And it's like, you got your money, done. So yeah, I understand that. I understand why people are doing that. I understand that totally from an economic viewpoint. But hopefully SegWit will just activate on Bitcoin. It will all go smoothly. The hashing power will just move to that. Obviously, I don't know the exact schematics, but you know, hopefully it will go smoothly, and Bitcoin can be. We saw what SegWit did for Litecoin, right? It kind of injected life into it. It kind of gave it a boost, and not just the price. I don't mean the price as much, but you know, the yours network opted for Litecoin over Bitcoin for the small payments. Litecoin was just more easier to work with than Bitcoin. Little things like that.
Right.
That's what makes a difference, right? Yeah.
Well,
so
the other
worth
thing
about.
I'm always concerned about was, you know, Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency, and then we're seeing all the problems with scaling, right? Well,
Yeah.
eventually these same problems are going to affect the other coins eventually, and obviously Litecoin has a little advantage. They got SegWit, but I mean, I'm starting to see, as time goes on, I mean, literally we are building another, it's almost like we're building another pyramid where Bitcoin's on top and all the money trickles down to these other altcoins, and they trickle down and they start building onto another tier of altcoins. It just seems weird that you know, it seems like we try to get away from that, and then we're back to the natural order, and it seems like a natural order building this pyramid kind of scenario. Is this where we're all headed? Back to the same thing again, where a concentration of money and power goes back into the hands of the few?
I hope not. I hope not, because money always corrupts people, man. Like human, it's just human programming, isn't it? Like money always seems to corrupt people, and give people, give someone all that power. Imagine having all the power of the
Do you
Bitcoin
think that's
network.
why there's a lot of the user activated software? There's a big push for this because there's a lot of people who don't want that to happen. We wanted to keep it decentralized. We want to distribute that power between the users, developers, and miners. I mean, what are your chances? What do you think the chances of a user activated software? Because it really does need hashing power behind it. I've heard 15%. Ideally, if you can get 30%, because supposedly 70% of the hashing power is in China, and the rest of it is all over the place. If you can get 30% to just jump on board, we can actually do a soft fork and just wait until it reorganizes back into one chain.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what kind of feelings do you have? What are the chances? Or
God.
do you think nothing will happen at all? Like we're just having literally a big pissing contest, and nothing's gonna happen. The fees are gonna stay high, long transaction times. It's just gonna keep going.
No, something's going to have to give way eventually. I mean, the chances and possibility, the likelihood of it all happening, we have it happening on August the 1st. It's happening. It's so unpredictable. I haven't looked at the stats recently for a few days, so I don't know what the stats are and stuff. But it might all just happen at the last minute. People might just think at the last minute on July 31st. Everyone might just be like, right, okay, it's time. We don't know, right? I mean, these things usually happen in the 11th hour. I think this is going to go down to the last minute. That's the best way I can answer that. If I told you a chance of something happening, or I'd be lying. So I know it's going to go down to the last minute. That I can guarantee.
I agree with you, Luke. I think there's a lot of people who aren't saying anything right now.
Yeah.
And they're just
yeah.
all waiting. They're either we don't. And here's the crazy part: nobody knows. Nobody knows, because I think in the last minute they're either going to do it or they're not. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you're right. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
There's already been a deadline set, and I think a lot of people are going to plan around that.
From what you're telling me, James, it seems like it's going to be extremely difficult to actually pull it off. If we're going to organize every single miner outside of China to activate this, to get the 30%, I want it to happen. That doesn't seem feasible, though.
Yeah, that is the issue. Like a lot of users like me, and probably like you, Brian, and Luke, would like to see SegWit activated. We're tired of the long transactions time and the high fees here, and we're seeing other altcoins, start to take that place. Eventually, they'll run into the same problem too. If everybody on Bitcoin jumped onto Litecoin would have the same problem. Although Litecoin has SegWit now, maybe that's the Chinese plan, is to have everybody jump on Litecoin, since they pretty much own that network. A lot of Chinese use Litecoin, and a lot of Chinese do use mine Litecoin as well. But even then, there's an overflow from there, and so it's kind of crazy. It'll be interesting to see. But if Bitcoin doesn't make it, I don't know if any other coin can make it after that. It's got to be killer. Well, Brian, I wanted to ask you something on because I was watching your channel. Tell us about the protest in Union Square that you were videotaping. That was on your channel. So tell us about that, and why what was the deal over there?
Well, that was actually filmed on May 1st, which is Labor Day, not our Labor Day, the holiday, but labor as a movement. They have chosen May 1st as the day they hold their worldwide rallies. And I just happened to be in Union Square at the time, which a lot of people call Soviet Union Square, because that's where all the protests occur from any group that has a beef with America or capitalism or anything over here. They all go there to start or end their protests. But so labor threw up a big tent, as they always did, and invited everyone who had a bone to pick with capitalism in America there. And they were protesting and shouting, and they were communists, socialists, anarchists, basically anybody that has a problem with government who are anti-disestablishmentarianisms to a different degree, and Tarianists, I should say. But I thought that if you were anti-government and you really truly believed in it, then you would have already learned about Bitcoin and would have thought it was your way out, right? Out from under the thumb of these tyrannical governments. But nobody seemed to know about Bitcoin. I asked one of the organizers, they were kind of older, so maybe they didn't know because of that. But it just seemed like nobody seemed to know what it was. And then one of my viewers made a comment that made sense, actually. Why would people who want to be taken care of by the government and provided everything by the government want a non-governmental currency? And that's when it clicked. I'm like, yeah, I guess they wouldn't be for it. I was wrong in my basic assumptions.
Yeah, that's a good point. People who are trying to live a government life, like socialism, right? They depend on the state. Why would they want to break away from the state? That's probably why you didn't get any good responses back there.
Yeah. And I didn't have much to say to that viewer. They were right, like, of course they're not going to support a decentralized non-governmental currency.
Interesting. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I saw the video. I thought it was interesting, and someone got pepper sprayed, right? Can you tell us about that? How that happened? Because that's not the first time. I've seen other videos. I think it was almost a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, where someone wearing a "Let's Make Bitcoin Great Again" hat was pepper sprayed in Berkeley.
Oh. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
I take it that person was mistaken for having been wearing a "Let's Make America Great Again" hat.
Yes.
Can you ask me your question again, James?
Oh, tell us about the protester that got pepper sprayed in Union Square.
Sometimes when you think about the profound idiocy out there, it boggles your mind and it shuts the whole thing down for a moment. So the gentleman who was part of the counter protesters, they had shown up, and one thing I noted that they were doing wrong in their counter protest was that they came in like armor and helmets, and they looked very much like a fascist army themselves. So I let them know that if you're protesting against people that call you a fascist, you shouldn't dress like a minion of the fascists, because that's not smart. But this guy, he was a member of the Proud Boys, which I was unfamiliar with the Proud Boys until after that. I'm still kind of unfamiliar with them. But he was counter-protesting, and one of the protesters sprayed him with mace. So while I was interviewing him, I was like, did you come at them with violent means? Did you assault them? He's like, no, bro, I was just here exercising my freedoms. They don't like it, and they pepper sprayed me. So that's it. Yeah, these forces have not quite understood the value of a nonviolent protest. And it's funny, had this occurred in the opposite way, had a Trump protester pepper sprayed one of the May Day protesters, my little YouTube video would have gone viral. It would have gone everywhere. Everyone would be bemoaning this racist Trump supporter, maced this poor immigrant at the rally, and it would have been flipped entirely. But I label my YouTube video "Trump supporter gets maced," and I don't get any views.
Yeah, really. Do you think there's some kind of reverse prejudice going on here, where the it almost seems like if you're a Trump supporter, and it seems like there's an overwhelming amount of people who are Trump supporters who are not typically, the stereotypical white person with toting guns and is a racist. There's a lot of them who supported Trump, right? I mean, even Ozzy supported Trump, and he's definitely not white. He does own a gun, though.
Yeah,
but he's not a racist, right? I mean, you think there's a lot of some kind of reverse prejudice or a narrative that's being pushed out by news medias out there?
Well, yeah, I mean, look at it. It's the same news media that's been in power for decades, right? And if you look at 8.5 years ago when President Obama was elected, there was a segment of society that feels the same way those who don't like Trump feel now. And they went out and they protested. And when they did it, they weren't called ideological people who had differences with the president. They were called racists. Um, the same media is in power today. And when folks go out and support Trump, they're called racists. It just, I work with the civil rights group, and I have for a long time. And I've been shown very easily how the race card is used as a trump card, no pun intended, to stifle anyone who disagrees with you. If they say something you don't like and you can't mitigate them through a logical argument, then you call them a racist, and it sticks and no one listens to them anymore. How awesome was Ron Paul? And then they go and find one document or one article from a paper he was an editor of during college, and then he's banned as racist. So a whole segment of the population that might have been down with what he was saying now ostracize him as a racist just because the media told them he was. This Proud Boy that I interviewed who'd got maced, he's Asian. He's a Trump supporter, he's Asian. And people don't realize that, James. You're right. There were a segment of the population that you would not think would traditionally be a Trump supporter or even a Republican who came out and was sick and tired of everything. You know, people want to do the right thing. I think people are inherently good. The problem is there are people out here telling them what the right thing to do is, and they're manipulating them into doing the wrong thing under the guise of the right thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. People are being programmed and manipulated for a specific purpose. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Luke, tell us. I mean, that's in America, having Trump as president was like the Brexit to England.
Yeah.
And I know you voted for the Brexit. Tell us about that. I mean, that was a big deal over there.
I mean, my problem with the EU and the euro is simply because, for me personally, I don't know who's elected in Brussels. They seem to just randomly elect themselves. They're corrupt. The euro was never designed to survive long term. It's just a giant Ponzi scheme. And I mean, the euro, the EU is a failing system. It doesn't. We can be a unified continent without chaining each other with financial debt. How can the euro be the currency of a powerhouse like Germany, but then support economies like Greece, which are struggling, and then you get these bailouts time after time after time, these huge banker fractional reserve Ponzi loans, just not even barely breaking even. Like Greece is messed up. Their economy is trash, not just Greece. I mean, so that's my reason for Brexit. A lot of people voted for Brexit because like the immigrants and stuff. You know, everyone does. You know, that's everyone can have their own opinion. That's fine. You know, my opinion on the EU was more from a political standpoint, because I just simply don't like how Brussels is kind of not Brussels the people, but the kind of the bureaucrats in their little headquarters in Brussels are trying to give orders to everyone throughout the continent. I mean, the EU. Why should we be chained together in financial tyranny when we can still do business and still work together without without being bullied by a bunch of people we didn't even bloody elect? You know, that's my take on
I know it's so weird. That's like, you know, being ruled over by another country in your own country. It
Exactly.
really didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the EU is not doing so good right now. I mean, do you fear that there's some instability going on in Europe?
Yeah, it's there's no trust in the banks, no trust in the government. I suppose, has there really been any trust in the government? But
But how
yeah, there's a
real is
lot.
that? I mean, people talk about it. I hear it on the news. It's different for me because if you watch my videos, I mean, I'm going to the pool, I'm getting a suntan.
Yeah,
Like these things kind of really don't affect me because I'm not feeling it, right? Like most Americans, I would say majority of Americans don't feel any kind of financial pressure. I mean, I have to admit, America's a really great country. It's not bad as some other countries, but I know in Europe, I hear about France, I hear about Germany, I hear about Greece, I hear about Italy and their financial woes, because eventually these financial woes will cause a disturbance, politically, and eventually it turns into some kind of war eventually. And that's what I'm worried about, really. I hate to see a war break out where it drags everybody in, and I see history repeating itself, just like these ICOs repeating themselves back for .coms and everything.
yeah,
And I'm not sure if Bitcoin will skyrocket because everybody will just put all their wealth in there, trying to escape and flee. These are things that I am concerned about. But me being in America, I just don't see those things. So that's why I'm
yeah,
asking
yeah,
you.
yeah. Like, I mean, if we look back at history, every depression has led on to war. Um, I'm pretty sure that's the case. But if to know our future, we look at our past, right? But I'm so glad that Britain didn't join the euro currency. 15, I don't know how many years ago it was. I was a kid. I'm glad we didn't join the euro. Although the pound is kind of weakened because of all this instability. But yeah, I mean, the EU, there is a lot of instability. There's a lot of fear, and all that. But and a lot of people do want to leave the EU, because it's just not working, is it? I mean, it was never really built to last. I think the EU itself is kind of out of date. I think it's the wrong way to create a unified continent. I think there's better ways to do it rather than chaining everyone together by giving everyone the same bank account. It just doesn't work. It's not working. Look at the continent. But I mean, in terms of like, yeah, it could be worse. I mean, Britain, Germany, France. I mean, there are much worse countries out there, um, than those countries. I mean, Britain is a very cushy place to live. I'm totally honest, despite the weather. But it could be worse. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Europe is unstable. The EU is unstable, and it's
Okay, I mean, this is for real. I mean, you're not just
yeah,
repeating what the news narrative is or anything. I mean, you really, because you're probably the closest to Europe that I know from anybody that I know, right?
yeah,
Because you
yeah,
speak English. I don't
yeah. I
speak
mean,
French or anything like that, so I'm not going to communicate
yeah. I
with
mean,
them.
I'm not saying that the world's going to end tomorrow or nothing like that. But I'm just saying on a geopolitical level, yeah, it's not good. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with the EU, and what if Brexit? They're trying to block Brexit as well. I mean, whether or not someone agrees with Brexit or not, that's fine. Whatever, that's their choice. But if that doesn't go through, that's not really a democracy, is it? That doesn't make this country a democracy because what people actually voted for hasn't been put through. That's not a democracy. That's basically like that people didn't like what they saw. They didn't like the result, so they want to recount. So it's like no one's going to have any faith in the system if that's the case. What's the point of going to vote if it's just going to be recounted if people don't like it? So
Right.
it's like, well, that's going to piss people off as well. So it's not, I mean, yeah, a lot of things aren't great. Our currencies aren't great. Debt and inflation is never good. I mean, even Rome fell, right? So anything can happen. In terms of like a war, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But hopefully that doesn't. No, there's never anything like that again. But I don't know, man. It's not good. It's
Right.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not good.
I've noticed the price has increased this year with Bitcoin. You think there's a correlation with that? Because it was 1,000 at the beginning of the year, and then it's like 2,800 or 2,500. I just what I do as a person who analyzes charts and trades, even though
Yeah,
I trade peer to peer, I look for signals, and it's ironic how charts tend to correlate with current events. And when the price spikes, like when Donald Trump was elected, that night, as the ballots were being counted, the price of Bitcoin spiked up. And
I remember.
I did a video on that, and I said, wow, I told my wife, Donald Trump's going to be the president, you know, because I saw that. Because the narrative was at the time, if the price goes up, Donald Trump was going to be the president. If it went down, Hillary Clinton would be the president or something like that. But at that night, the price spiked up. I mean, it did something, and the stock market did all this weird stuff too. And then it kind of just, you know, played out. And when
do you remember when yeah? Do you remember when Brexit happened on almost a year ago, June, was it the 23rd? And the markets plummeted, but gold, silver, and Bitcoin all shot up.
Yeah,
that was quite that was quite fun to watch. And the markets, the pound, it all just crashed. And but all the store values, precious metals, Bitcoin, it just surged up. So you know, it shows how fragile our entire global economic system actually is. All it takes is for people to fairly, well, hopefully it was fairly vote to leave the EU to cause temporary mayhem in the markets. It took for people to vote for Trump to come in to cause total mayhem in the markets. It's like a hair trigger. It's like a hair trigger for things just to go crazy. It's fragile. The global economy is so fragile, and why, especially like us millennials, why would we want to put our money into that system when it's that fragile for the long term? It doesn't make sense, right? You might as well just try and walk on a thin piece of glass and hope it doesn't break. It's just not gonna, you know, it's just not sustainable in my terms.
Good point.
Luke, 1 year ago, my favorite politician that you have was the head of UKIP. Nigel Farage was so brilliant at the EU after that vote. I laughed so hard. I love that.
Well, Luke, you make some good points, and you are a millennial, right?
Oh yes,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're speaking. I mean, you're one person, but I'm going to make the assumption that what you're saying probably holds true to most millennials who feel the same way. So that's a very good, interesting point.
Yeah, hopefully they you know, I think you know, when you're in your 20s or in your 30s and your 40s and in the teens, that kind of bracket, it's important to look long term, because it's different to like the baby boom generation, like our parents' generation. It's totally different now. Like the whole kind of career setup is different now. I mean, you're not going to be guaranteed a job after you finish uni. You know, it's you know, we're not even guaranteed a pension, really. I mean, how old is the pension age over here? I think is, for men now, they rose it from 65 to 70, and it's just going to
practically like dead. I mean, you're practically dead at 70.
exactly. So it's like, you know, we got to think outside the box. We got to think outside the box, and that's why things like cryptocurrency, technology as well, it's the future. You know, it's blockchain. That's why so many people are coming into it, because they're not making enough by saving, like how their fathers or grandfathers did. So they opt into these other alternative assets, these more savvier assets, and that's what we're seeing with blockchain, with the blockchain universe. You know, people are coming into it. More and more entrepreneurs are coming up now. They're thinking, right, I don't want to do a 9 to 5 and earn money that's going to lose value over time and get taxed up my ass to a government that I can't even democratically vote for. They're starting their own businesses. You know, they're trying to change the world. So this is what's happening now. It's a totally different ecosystem that we're in now. It's not like the 60s and 70s where you could just go from one job to the other easily.
Well, now that you brought up the 60s and 70s, let me take this back to Brian. I'm not saying you're old, because we had a conversation about where 420 came from, and you knew the answer. Why don't you tell us where that 420 came from, and then give us your perspective of what's going on in the world, and maybe how that correlates to Bitcoin.
Well, from what I was taught, the 420 was a code used by the police in the 60s in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. And it was their police code for when they had caught people smoking marijuana. So I think that the culture co-opted that code and took it as their own. That's basically the story of that.
Good history lesson, Brian. So give us your perspective. Now people may know how long you've been around. So give us your perspective on the world, and we're almost coming up to the hour, but give us your perspective and how it somehow relates to cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin in particular.
Well, I'm not for sure how that relates to cryptocurrency, but one of the things I've noticed is people getting into the space now are getting in because the price jumps, and these are people, like I go to meetups downtown and I talk to a lot of different people who are new to the space, and they understand less than I did when I first got in, and I felt like I was way behind the 8 ball when I jumped on. But the problem is trying to get people to understand cryptocurrency, and in particular the promise of Bitcoin, is difficult because they don't understand the fundamentals of how money works, how finance works. I mean, for God's sake, they think the Federal Reserve is a government agency. So they can't understand the geopolitics of what's going on, and they can't understand how important Bitcoin is to changing the world, which is kind of sad. We could fulfill the promises of Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, but that's not going to happen if lots of government oversight, if we have people come in and then leave because of scams. Because the only time I ever hear about Bitcoin in the news is if it makes a sharp price dip or a sharp price rise, or if it's involved in some sort of criminal act. So people either get on because they see the money's going up, or they get out because they see the money's going down, or they never get involved in the first place because they think it's all one big scam, because that's all they've heard about are the scams and the way people got swindled out of their money with Bitcoin.
Okay, good point. Thank you for sharing that. And so, all right, so this is the last portion of the treasure hunt. I'm going to give you mine. All right, it's going to be James Bond, and you want to, it's of course, and it's capitalize the first James, the J and the B, but put together. And then there's one more clue which I'm not going to give, and that's part of the treasure hunt. You'll have to guess because this is a very special episode. It's a little bit tough because I know Brian. I'm going to give you. I'll give Brian about a day. He'll probably is cracking it right now, but give him a day, Brian, to let him try first. All right, give him a. And then I'm going to share my screen. Okay, here, hold on. Let me share my screen. I haven't put any money in it yet, but I will because my other my private key is downstairs, unfortunately. But let me try to share my screen here. Okay, let me see here. Share screen.
You know I'm about to take a screenshot, right?
Oh yeah, I know you will. Well, this is going to be all live, so you can see it again. Let me see here. All right, here we go.
You know, on the previous one, you put initially into the treasure hunt wallet 0.0144 Bitcoin, and when I saw that, I freaked out. I was like, 144? No, I've got to win that. That's my number. Then I didn't figure it out until after you'd taken a bulk of the Bitcoin out.
Oh, okay. Well, what I usually do, hold on here. Oh, I'm in the infinity screen here. Oh, there it is. There's the private key. It's empty right now. I haven't put it in, but I think I'm going to put $70.
People are going to go and check now.
I'm going to put in $70. And because it's 007, so I got to put some kind of 7 in there. I'm not going to put $7, so I'm going to make it a little bit more just because it's a special episode. So go ahead and scan this code and try to crack the code. Now, Brian already gave up a word. He gave up part of a clue. Luke gave a clue. I gave a clue. And there's actually 4 altogether. So the last one is not revealed because the whole point is for you to crack the code as well. And so that's part of the whole James Bond thing here. So hopefully everyone got a shot of that. Now, all right, so we're almost at the end. Let me, okay, stop that. And then, all right. So pretty much this concludes the episode. Did everyone have a chance to see the screenshot? Did you? What, did it show up? Hello, Luke?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, oh yeah, talking to me. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, just anybody. I just want to make sure everyone had a chance to
Oh,
see
yeah.
it. All right. So, Luke, please
Yeah.
tell everybody how to find you.
Okay, so you can find me at Yes for Motivation on YouTube, Twitter. I've got the website yesformotivation.com. I do consulting as well now, so you can kind of pick my brains for an hour. Just email me yesformotivation at gmail.com.
What's the rate? Is it like 0.1 Bitcoin? That's kind of been the popular rate going
Nah,
on.
much less than that. You know, a couple dollars. I mean, you know, just a small little fee.
Come on, man, you got to charge more than that.
Okay, well, yeah.
I charge 2 million.
Oh yeah, well, you know, if you want to pay more, then pay more. But yeah, about, you know, $50 or something like that. Yeah, and then we can talk for like an hour through Skype, through a Facebook chat or something, or just a normal call through the phone, the old school way. And yeah, and you got any questions about storing your Bitcoin, how to store it safely, how to send it, literally anything. And you know, I'll help you guys out. I'll even give some free downloads. And if I don't know the answer, I will make sure, you know, I'll find out the answer. And yeah, we will. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I've helped a few people already, and it's been good fun. It's been great fun.
All right, your link to your channel is in the notes section, so if people want to check out your channel, and you probably have all your other information in there as well, right?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, cheers. Yeah.
Now, Brian, tell everyone where people can find you. I know you have a channel. I already have a link to your channel, but if anybody wants to contact you, if they're in New York, they want to trade with you, they would just want to talk to you. I mean, maybe they even want to pay you to talk to you. Who knows?
I don't think anybody's going to need to pay me to talk to me. That would require what I have to say to be of value for their investments. Yeah, just go to my YouTube channel and send me a message there. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and a lot of other stuff, but if you can find me there, sure, reach out to me. But it's easiest just to hit me on YouTube.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. And of course, I'm James Bond. Some people consider me a troll. If you all want to be on this channel and do a live stream with me, more than happy to. Just contact me, you know, do a private message. But until next time, stay tuned, everyone. This concludes this episode. Or did you want to say something, Brian?
Well, I was thinking about it. You know, you're missing your co-host, the guy who sits around and smokes during your show, and you just happen to have somebody on today that sat around and smoked during the show. So maybe we can do this again before Ozzy gets back.
Yeah. I sent Ozzy a link. He's leaving today, unfortunately, so he probably didn't get my email. And but I'll send him an email, and if he can, because he's going to the Middle East somewhere, in Dubai and everything. So if he does pop in, we'll be very fortunate. But yeah, Brian, I'll definitely talk to you after the show where we can maybe have you on for tomorrow if you want. You know, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. I know. I have a good feeling that you have a lot to say, and you probably have a lot to share because you have experience, and maybe you could share that experience with the rest of the audience, with all the noobs out there.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. This concludes this episode, everyone. Stay tuned for the next episode. I think we'll have something on Sunday coming up with Yellow Fever for you. He also mines Bitcoin. He also does Genesis mining too, but that's all right. He's a long-term holder for all his coins. That's why I don't give him a tough time. He's not a flipper. He actually believes in some of these coins. So hopefully he'll tell us more about some of the coins that he believes in. And until next time, everyone, bye.